Alright, is cold email actually dead? Every few months, somebody on LinkedIn writes a bold claim about this and somehow it goes viral. And every time it happens, people start questioning whether they should be doing cold outbound in the first place. Now, to give you some context, we're sending around 100,000 cold emails every single month on behalf of our own clients, sometimes scaling it north of 110,000 emails per month. And cold email remains the biggest client acquisition channel for my own agency. So I wanted to make this video to settle the debate once and for all, and I'll show you the real numbers from my own agency. I'll explain why cold email is failing people so much right now, and by the end, you'll know if cold email is something you should be doing for your own business or not. So to start off with, let's talk about why everyone thinks cold email is completely dead, because as I'm sure you know by now, things are getting a lot harder. Google and Outlook on a monthly basis announce how they're tightening the spam filters. Domains that used to work for months, if not years, end up being blacklisted with all your emails landing in junk. And so many people are sending cold emails on a daily basis that the providers have no choice but to filter them a lot more aggressively, leaving our emails outside of the main inbox. And that's not to mention that AI personalization has stopped being a competitive advantage, as the gurus like Eric Nowslowski and Nick Abraham keep on reminding us about on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And yes, a couple of years ago, if you used AI to research a prospect, write a custom personalized first liner, chances are you really stood out. Now pretty much every single person in the world is using personalization inside of their cold emails, and it's very, very easy to spot. I know because I get 5 to 10 emails per day from agencies, and most of them open with the exact same robotic AI sounding line about a podcast I was on, or about a LinkedIn post I wrote, or about a post I engaged with. And just as a quick example, as you can see on the screen right now, this email actually landed in my junk, but even if I was to read it, you can see the cringe PS line over here, which reads, "I had to laugh at how you finally cancelled your Clay account subscription post. Bold move for Clay expert. I'm guessing that one triggered a few spicy DMs." And look, it does show to an extent that like, hey, I've done a bit of research, I saw one of your posts, but realistically, it just doesn't do anything for this email in my opinion, and it did not stand out. I didn't reply to the email, and on top of that, it landed in the junk folder, so tough. So again, it just goes back to the fact that even these companies that are spending a lot of money into their outreach and into the softwares that they have, it is still ridiculously hard to land into the main primary inbox. And yes, a byproduct of that has been the reduction in reply rates. So right now, on some of our client campaigns, the reply rates can drop down to 1%, as opposed to a couple of years ago, those reply rates being at 3% to 4% at least. So if you've been running campaigns recently and your replies have been dipping year on year, it's not because you're doing something increasingly wrong every single time. It's because the standard for what's normal just isn't the same anymore. And that's the whole case for why cold email is dead, pretty much. But here's the thing, if cold email was truly dead, my business would not exist today. We're sending north of 100,000 emails per month. Cold email is bringing way more clients than webinars, LinkedIn posts, email newsletters, referrals, and any other channels combined. And assuming that you diversify your cold email outreach across multiple campaigns where you are A/B testing the offers, the opening lines, the subject lines, or the call to actions, assuming you're sweating those tiny little 1% details, as long as you keep at it for long enough, preferably 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you will undeniably start seeing positive replies come through and a better conversion on the cold outreach that you're doing. And can I just be totally real with you? Every single person that runs a lead generation business or any sort of service-based agency would know that things like cold email do not work on every single client. And in fact, just this month alone, I had 2 clients renew their contracts going into month 4 and into month 5. Not because we were generating them a tremendous amount of leads, or because they loved hanging out with me on our weekly catch-up calls, but rather because they have a designated Slack channel that looks something like this, which notify our recruitment clients of any candidates or any clients and any relevant sales triggers. So over here you can see an open role at Clarivoy and how that just comes on the back of some 1.37 million Series A funding, and it even provides us with a mobile number of the hiring stakeholder at the company, as well as the full name of the hiring stakeholder and the LinkedIn profile URL. So again, in this case, did we use cold outreach via Smartlead in order to try and get them positive replies in meetings using email automation? Absolutely, yes we did. However, at the same time, a big part of our value value add and a big part of our service offering is the fact that we can give them follow-up tasks like these inside of a designated Slack channel where they get notified instantly whenever any sales triggers occur. So it's very much a multi-channel approach. You're not just doing email outreach on its own, you're also complementing it with other activities like LinkedIn outreach, WhatsApp, SMS, and cold calling. And essentially, in their case, they're able to cold call a bunch of these stakeholders when the relevant sales trigger occurs, which makes us a lot more dangerous as a sales team. And that alone justified them renewing into month 4 and month 5, despite not really hitting the results that we were expecting after the first couple of months of working together. Now, the second underrated hack, beyond just doing cold email outreach, has been the creation of sales battle cards. And you would only have heard of this if you're a part of my Unlock Clay community, where I overshared this a couple of weeks ago. But essentially, in this case, our client provides decarbonization services for cement plants, and it's a super specific niche where the total addressable market is tiny. And for that reason, yes, you could do a cold email outreach, but at the same time, the biggest value add that we could provide to this specific client was the qualification, enrichment, and personalization process when it comes to how we treat every single account, every single company for this client. So in this case, you were looking at 1,600 cement plants. So that's every single cement plant in the world. And on the back of that, we're first of all able to mimic what they would research manually otherwise about each cement plant. So we're able to find the website, we're able to find the APC hardware and the XRD's hardware as well. On the back of that, we're able to understand the other aspects of the cement plants, which typically would take the sales team forever to research otherwise. And on the back of that, on the very right hand side over here, you can see that we generate a sales battle card, which contains all of the research, and it equips the sales team with all of this research about the company. So in this case, we can tell all of the findings, and whenever it comes to cold calling any of the stakeholders at this company, again, they're equipped with a lot of research, a lot of insights. So the same data that you're using for cold email outreach can also be used to fuel other aspects of your outreach, such as the cold calling. But even with all of those changes, the number we aim for when it comes to positive replies is the same now as it was years ago. And we consider it a successful campaign if 1 in 300 prospects at least reply positively to our cold outreach. If that happens, we know that we can add more leads to that specific campaign, and we can then expect to see an influx of positive replies. Now, inside of our agency, we power all of it through Smartlead because it handles everything from your domain infrastructure all the way through to Smart Prospect, which is like their lead database of over 300 million people, which you can filter through, super similar to LinkedIn Sales Navigator or Apollo or any other alternatives in the market. And of course, on top of that, we're using Smartlead for campaign creation, reply handling, and everything to do with deliverability as well. It's the tool that allows us to crush our cold outreach, even despite all of the challenges, all the limitations that I mentioned throughout this video. And in case if you want to try it out for yourself, you can sign up completely for free using the top link in the description down below, and you'll get a 2-week free trial of Smartlead completely for free, no credit card required in the process as well. So if cold email is not actually dead, why does it feel dead for so many people? Now, the first reason that I can think of is that most people send emails out, see no replies, they don't try to analyze and A/B test different subject lines, different messaging copy, and so they don't really have an idea of what's working or what's not working. They don't know their reply rate, they don't know the size of the total addressable market, and it's pretty hard to establish how many emails they need to send in order to get one person interested in their product or services. Then, after a couple of bad weeks, they give up on it altogether and just write a provocative LinkedIn post just to virtue signal and to get a little bit of sympathy from their wider network. Now, the second reason that we're made to believe that cold email is dead right now ties directly into what I just said as well, which is that most people that are writing really bad cold outreach copy have never really been in the shoes of a salesperson. They're trying to automate cold email outreach, even though if you got them to write 100 emails manually, they would still probably not get a positive reply. And it looks like one of the emails on my screen right now. And I'm just going to read through a couple of them right now, and honestly, I'm full of sympathy for that reason. I've even blurred them out. So you can see this one. It says, "Hi, no first name, nothing." It says, "I visited your site. It looks great, but it seems to be falling short on search engine rankings for Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Can I send over my price list and proposal to help you improve your results?" How am I supposed to just trust you with that if you can't even mention my first name? And if you put in bold the call to action, which is just basically offering to share your rate card? How? And that's not to mention that a lot of people treat cold email outreach as if it's some sort of fancy marketing newsletter. And you can see over here, there are so many pixels that are installed into this email. No wonder it landed into my junk folder. And you can see they're inviting me into some random webinar. But you can just tell that whoever sent this email has never probably done cold outreach properly. It landed into my spam folder. Now, if I could just give you one bit of advice for your cold email outreach copy, I would just say this. Make sure that your subject line is short, sharp, and curiosity driven. So when someone clicks on that email, they're clicking because the subject line made them wonder, what is this email all about? So for example, this email stood out to me a couple of weeks ago, and you can see the subject line is "When's the extra mile?" And I was like, what the hell is that all about? No wonder I clicked into every single one of the emails that I got sent as a part of this email thread. And this is just a really good example of a sequence of emails that genuinely drives a lot of curiosity and made me check out the resources that the person has put together and sent across to me. So in this case, I'm just going to read it out. So in this case, I'm going to pop it up on the screen. You can just pause the video for yourself and read out email 1, which is right in front of you right now. You can tell that the tone of the email is quite playful, is quite witty, quite funny, and yet educational and curiosity driven, and for that reason, no wonder that I clicked on the link in the first email. Now moving on to email 2, I'm going to drop it on the screen right now, and then email 3 right now, and finally email 4 is pretty sharp as well. No wonder I'm going to reply to this person on the back of recording this video. And by the way, one thing that I've seen play out for a lot of our clients so far, and one thing that I experienced in the past working at numerous different startups, is the fact that people give up on an acquisition channel way too early. If you think about any skill, like learning a new language, going to the gym, losing some weight, putting on some muscle, or anything of that sort, typically that does not come easy. It does not typically come within just 5 days or 7 days or a month. Typically at least good things take like 3 months or 4 months to build. So for that reason, I recommend that you treat the cold outreach game very similarly, whereby you give yourself at least 3, maybe 6 months of runway when it comes to your cold emails, and only that way you can then validate if it's working or if it's not working for you. So this raises the final question, is cold email outreach even worth it? And if I am to keep this short, I would say there are 2 main factors that determine whether cold outreach is worth it for your business. The first question is, how big is your total addressable market? If your total addressable market is over 20,000 contacts that are reachable via email, whose emails are easily found using a database like Smart Prospect or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, then 100% you should be doing cold email outreach, because your total addressable market is large enough, it's easy enough to find their email addresses, and that way you can truly scale your outreach and you can try a lot of different campaigns across your total addressable market. Now, if your total addressable market is under 10,000 contacts or so, chances are you probably want to try a bit more of a multi-channel approach, or an all-bound approach, as people love to label it on LinkedIn these days. And that's just the idea of doing a lot of multi-channel outreach, be it email automation using Smartlead, LinkedIn automation using HeyReach, SMS, WhatsApp, gifting using tools like Sendoso, voice messages, video prospecting, and basically diversifying across a lot of channels so that you're not just solely relying on cold email outreach if your total addressable market is too small. Now, the second thing which determines whether it's worth it to do cold outreach for your business or not, of course, is the average ticket size. So if your average sale is probably above a couple of $100 at least, I would say it's quite easy to break even and to get ROI from a channel like cold email outreach. Now, if in contrast your average deal size is under $10 or under $15 per user or per service or per month, then in that case, chances are it probably does not make economic sense for you to put all of your eggs into one basket with cold email outreach. Like I said, our average clients take anywhere from 3 months to 4 months to validate cold email outreach as an acquisition channel. So I very much recommend for you to extend that time horizon when it comes to assessing whether cold email outreach is for you, and hopefully you learned a couple of things throughout this video. Now, if you've decided that cold email outreach is worth doing for your business and you want to make sure that you do it right, check out Smartlead by clicking on the top link underneath the video right now. You can get the inboxes, the email warm-up, the sequencing, and the reply management all in one place, so you don't have to pay for and manage a bunch of other tools on top of it. Again, you can get started for free using Smartlead by checking the top link in the description down below underneath the video. And if you're curious at all about how you can fully automate your outbound with an AI agent in 60 seconds, then check out the video popping up on your screen right now.